episode, we're going to attempt to share the entire story of how Amelia accidentally started a dance studio, Okinawa School of Performing Arts. We might also hear a bit about a big event she attended in Tokyo.
Well, if you missed the first episode, I'm Lacey. I am a homeschool mother of 5, and my husband has been in the Marine Corps for 23 years. We are in the process of retirement, living in sunny Southern California.
Hi, I'm Katie, mother of 2, married to my high school sweetheart. Husband has been a Marine for 14 years, and we are currently living in Maryland.
I'm Amelia. My husband has been Marine for 16 years. We've been married for 11. We met in our first 2 months of college, so that means we've been together for like 17 years, which is really freaky. And we're currently in Okinawa, Japan.
Lacey, what is your time of day?
It is 4:20 on a Sunday.
Sunday.
PM. 4:20 p.m.
Yes.
on a Sunday.
Important because it is 7:20 Sunday evening for me and Amelia.
I'm in the future. It is 9:20 Monday morning. Don't ask me the lottery numbers. I can't tell you.
You're happy to be back in Okinawa where it's nice and warm?
Yes.
Yeah? And how was Tokyo, Amelia?
Tokyo was wonderful and freezing. I really like going to like the city. You know, it's like cool to be in like a giant city and see like these skyscrapers and like experience something different. But it's really, really, really cool to like get on the plane and then like take off the puffy jacket and like shove it in a bag and take the like heat things out of my pockets and off the end of like the underside of my socks, and put flip-flops on. Because if I never have to wear sneakers again or like long pants, that'll be.
Yeah, I don't think you're going to get away with that, but good luck to you. Best of luck.
You know what? The Marine Corps like gonna have us here for 6 years, so I'll get at least 6 years of my life where like cold is a choice I make.
This is true.
Not like something.
I mean, that's been 2012, so 12 years. I haven't had to live in the cold like Katie for 12 years.
Yeah,
that's all Marine Corps.
There's snow outside. It snowed. So we've got
sounds
snow.
Disgusting.
It's fine. So, but you got to give us a little bit more. You got to let all of the listenership know, what was it you were doing, Amelia? What did you do?
I went to the Taylor Swift Eras tour.
How many times?
Twice.
She went twice.
So fun.
It was I think it was a little different tickets here than in America. You entered a lottery. And it wasn't just like, oh, I'm entering the lottery for any tickets on any day. You had to enter the lottery for each day and then for each ticket type. So if you were willing to pay for like the VIP 3 ticket on Thursday and the VIP 1 and the box and whatever. So that's one entry for each type of tickets on each day. And the more you entered in, the more likely you were to get tickets. It was like this really crazy process. We missed out on the first lottery, so I thought like for sure I'm not getting tickets. And then I did. And then my best friend from college, like the first person I met in college, and I'm still friends with, lives in mainland Japan. And she went with me one day, and I took Clara another.
Nice. And I loved your outfit. Cool. It was amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you. I wore a sparkly black jumpsuit. And Clara wore a hot pink poofy dress and rainbow frilly socks and rainbow glitter shoes. And she had like heart teal sunglasses. And one of our friends got this like glitter, but it's like giant chunks of glitter in like a bag in like a gelatinous form. And you like just like smear it on your face and your hair. So Clara had it just everywhere. I'm like not even that much of a Swiftie. Like I truly do not know the
like all the words and all the things.
I don't. And it was probably the best concert I've ever been to in my life. Whoever the director and like visionary, I mean, I know she does a lot of it because she's like really into that. the choreography, the staging, everything was just like mind-blowingly phenomenal. My favorite thing she does is this song called Tolerate It. And before, the song before, she's like at her piano in
Mhm.
over on I guess it would like technically be stage left. And it looks like she's under like the knot of a tree, and there's this like giant tree growing, and it kind of looks like the piano is like almost a part of that. And that whole
That's
stage
cool.
is black, and she does such a good job of like drawing your eye over. And then she gets it from the piano, and out of nowhere there's like this 55-foot table that just like appeared
Oh man.
on the stage. And like I know stage stuff, so I'm like always trying to like catch them out, like
Right.
moving stuff.
Yeah.
I have no
Yeah.
idea where this table came from. It
That's
just
awesome. That's
Just
appeared.
amazing.
there.
It was just there, and then she starts singing this song Tolerate It, which is about like, she's in love with this person and they just kind of tolerate her love, I guess. And she like sets this table, and it looks like the whole thing's in black and white except her.
Oh,
Oh,
And
that
wow.
is
like the
really cool.
lighting was just phenomenal, and like this guy comes out and it looks like they're in like the whole back screen is lit up, and like there's a door that opens and he comes in, and it was just so
That's
good.
amazing.
Yeah, it
Like the
sounds like
storytelling
it
was so
does
good.
sounds really amazing. I do have one side question.
Mm.
Which of the so you went to the first night or the second night
The first and the third.
and the third? So did you see the thing that everybody's talking about in the third of her
Oh, when she
like
like kind of tripped.
yeah, see, I didn't see the video because I was like, I don't want to this is all a clickbait. So I was like, I'll just ask Amelia. So Amelia, I'm asking you, what
So
happened?
there's this part where she like, again, like they bring like a cabin out. Like it's like a moss covered cabin. And she sings a song on top of it. And she's in this like beautiful flowy long dress, and she stands up, she like walks down the roof, and she kind of like, when you step on the hem of your dress,
Mm-hmm.
she did
Yeah.
that.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
And
Because
like the next day in the news stories, you would have thought that she like rolled down the side of this house and was
right.
like clinging onto the roof with her fingernails.
Yeah, because
She
all of the
stumbled.
clickbait is like it a technical failure that her set almost gives out and she really almost lose Taylor Swift. I'm like, I feel like we
She,
would know more
she,
than that.
she stumbled. Like
Okay.
it was
Okay.
a stumble. And she
She,
was like, oh my gosh, you guys, I almost fell off the roof of the house. Like, wow, my life flashed before my eyes. Because, like, you've stepped on the hem of your dress and you're like, whoa.
yeah.
And you like, you're in
Yep.
your head, you're like, my face is hitting the ground right now. But, like, that didn't happen.
Okay. Well,
I mean,
there we
I
go.
would have been scared too, but it was definitely a stumble. And she did not, like, almost fall off the house.
Almost fall off and just there's the end. So she's
There's the end.
human,
Well, they have
basically.
to make it, yeah, and they have to make it sound big and like it's
Yes.
some big deal because it's Taylor Swift. I mean, it's going to give them views, and that's really what they're
Yeah.
trying to do there. So that
I
makes
will say this
that makes
is
sense.
like one of the things that made the concert the best concert is like, so my sister went in America, and everyone says how loud it is. Like it's so loud, it's so loud, it's so loud. Like even adults are wearing like head things because everyone is like screaming the whole
Yeah.
concert, and then they're also like screaming the lyrics, so you can't hear her because 50,000 people
Yeah.
are screaming the lyrics. Not in Japan.
Oh no, because
Like
it's all silent.
so, people are like singing along and like whatever, and it was loud because it's a concert. But then like in the quieter songs, and in like American concerts, everyone stands the whole time. Like why do you even have a seat? No, they sit down for the quiet songs, and they're sitting down and just like enjoying the concert, and then we stand for the upbeat songs, and then we sit for the like songs that are, more reserved and, polite applause. It was lovely.
Yeah.
Being
I mean,
36 now, I actually enjoyed the concert, and like I didn't walk out with my ears ringing and like
Right.
yeah. Taking Clara to a concert there is far better. I mean, in Japan in general, like going to
yeah.
events like that. But I mean, for taking a little one, like that's a million times better. And then she's not going to have the headache and be a pain the next day. So
Yeah. I mean,
that's pretty
she had
awesome.
to put on her little headphones for a couple songs, her little like noise canceling, like what they use on the flatline here
Mm.
for a couple songs, but for the most of part, she didn't really even have to wear them.
Oh,
It
that's
was
nice.
lovely. And I know that makes me sound like even older than I am, but it was and and also like everyone like, cleans up their stuff as they go, as they leave, except this is
Mm.
interesting. So my neighbors had tickets the same time we did. And then one of the girls that I teach dance to also had tickets. And we did not get to pick our seats, okay? This is very important. And yet,
All
literally my neighbors
together.
were 2 seats away from us and she was sitting right in front of me.
It's like when we went to Don Quixote and they put
And
us
like
all like right
all
there.
In
the
one place.
foreigners were in like one section. And my friend that lives in Japan was with me, and I was like, well, that's like a coincidence. She's like, no, it's not. All the foreigners were put together. Because like your names are not in
Yeah.
kanji.
Kanji.
So like and it's true, like all the foreigners were together. It was hilarious that we just like, it was cool because, we got to enjoy the concert together. Like we thought we were going to be seated across the stadium from each other. So it was
Right.
neat to like be able to enjoy the
Yeah.
concert together. So I do appreciate the fact that we were all together.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
amazing. Well, speaking of you teaching dance, we're going
Mm.
to get into how you accidentally started a studio over there
It
in
was an
Okinawa.
accident.
But before we get started on that, we're just going to do a little bit of our acronyms or what we try to break down every episode if we have acronyms that we're using. Today, you're going to hear MCCS, and that stands for Marine Corps Community Services. It's lovingly referred to as the Marine Corps Crime Syndicate by Marines and their families. It's not that we don't appreciate all of the programs and things that they provide for us or the, programs they run. It's just that it kind of is a little bit of a racket. You can't have a program on a Marine Corps base without going through them. And that gives us a little bit of red tape, which that's going to be another episode and we'll cover all of that later. But you will hear a little bit about MCCS today.
A lot of bitter red tape.
Yeah. A lot of it. I will make a small caveat there that stateside you deal with MCCS also, but we have more
Correct.
options in the States. Overseas, MCCS is your only option. And so that's
Yeah.
part of the
When it comes to the
reason.
Marine Corps.
Yeah. So for
Yeah.
those of you who are military related and have dealt with MWR, FSS, MCCS, all very similar situations, stateside is not quite the same as OCONUS situations because they have a bit of a monopoly.
A little bit.
A little bit.
Just scoshy.
Scoshy.
All right, Amelia. So
Okay.
begin.
So Sam actually is kind of the impetus for this whole thing. A person that he worked with was like, oh, it's really hard to get my daughter in dance. And because if you are a Marine family, the wait list for dance on the Air Force Base, which was the only place that had dance at the time, is longer, just due to the nature of like you're a Marine, so Air Force families get placement first. Fair or not, that is how it is, right? So that's how it is. And my husband was like, "Oh, well, my wife could teach private lessons," so I did to a like lovely little girl, and from there, it kind of was like I think her mom told people, and so people were asking me like, "Oh, will you do more private lessons?" And I was like, "Well, it'd be easier to do group lessons." And I went to the camp at the time, which was Camp Courtney, and was like, "Hey, I'd like to do this." And kind of no one really knew where to send me, like how to get this started. And I was like, "Well, could I just use a space? Could I like how does this happen?" And one of the big problems in all this that I'll touch on now is like information on starting things is not readily available out here. Like
Mm-hmm.
how to have like a cookie business out of your house, you can find that information very easily. But like how to do something that's more of like a service, not like I'm physically providing you with something, is
Yeah.
much harder to find information on.
Well, and I think that's probably because it's one camp and then it's
Yes.
a bunch of little camps within, and they
Yeah.
each have different things. Like it's very, very messy
Yes.
because so many people are in charge in different places.
Yeah. So the camp at first, really great camp director. Like, I think he's a phenomenal guy. was like, yeah, well, here's the places that you could use, and like we'll like figure it out as we go along. Because I think that they recognized a need as well.
Especially
And
up there. Up there,
yeah,
there isn't much for families. Yeah.
yeah. So we had a little informational meeting, and there was like, I don't know, 10 or 15 families. And I did 2 or 3 little dance classes. I can't remember anymore, like a week. And it was cute and adorable. And we did like we used this old, busted, rundown chapel,
The chapel.
the chapel on Camp Victorious. And we used
I have another episode coming up for that one.
oh yeah, we used the,
Yeah.
I have
um,
pre-dance stories of the chapel to add to that one.
we used the theater on Camp Courtney, and we used the Boy Scout or Girl Scout. I think it's Boy Scout on Victorious. Yeah, and with parent tuition, it was just because I knew there was strange rules about making money on camp. And again, no one could really pinpoint these rules and what it was and how to do stuff because it's so complicated. So I never took a salary. Like I didn't make money. I just used parent funds to buy things we needed, like bars. And I was saving up for portable mirrors and things like that because I knew that I couldn't make money on base. There's like this whole rule about it, like using government facilities for making money. So I wasn't making money. Happy to do it. You know, it's just a fun little thing I was doing. And yeah, then I went home that Christmas. And I know it sounds strange that I moved to Japan and then went home Christmas 6 months later, but we had made a agreement with our parents that we'd go home every other Christmas. And in hindsight, it's a good thing that we did go home because COVID hit a few short months later and we didn't go home for 2 years. So I woke up to an email and it was like, hi, we'd like to join your studio. Tell us about it. I was like, studio? I don't have a studio. I have 3 dance classes, but I don't have a studio. And another email comes in. It's like, hi, I'm a dance teacher and I'd like to teach dance for you. I was like, I'm sorry, once again, I don't actually have a studio. I have a rundown chapel and 3 dance classes. That was my first dance teacher. And then I kept getting more emails and I was like, oh no, no, no. Oh no. This is good and bad. So I get back to Okinawa and I go to the camp director. I'm like, hi, there's like 50 families that want to do a thing. And could I have more time in these places? Could I reserve them? And he's like, yeah, we really need to figure out the logistics of this. I was like, yeah, I know, we really do. And so he put me in contact with a lady at the gym. And so I'm emailing back and forth with her, trying to set up meetings and figure out like, how do we do this? Like, how do we make this happen? Because the gyms all have what kind of looks like a dance space. It's like big floors, wooden rooms, have a bar. Like, how do we make this work?
It's a Zumba room.
Yeah, it's basically a Zumba room, but they have bars. So they at one point in time, because nothing here is new. So at one point in time, they must have had dance classes there, set them up for dance classes. So we're going back and forth. Meanwhile, there's like 60 something kids that are dancing now. We're starting to prepare for a recital because we don't see COVID in the horizon. Well, we kind of do, but it's like,
but not.
Everyone knows. Like, oh yeah, well, it's this thing, but whatever. And we're preparing for that. And then going back and forth with the camp and MCCS and trying to figure out where this dance program could happen and how we could make it work. And then COVID hits and the restrictions hit and we just kind of move classes to Zoom and do Zoom classes and kind of work our way through quarantine like everybody else did. And then quarantine restrictions ease up and we are able to come back. And again, we're working with the camp and MCCS trying to figure out a place. At some point in time, they threw out the idea of doing an individual service contract, which is where, like, basically what the fitness instructors do. Like, you compete for time and space in the facilities the gym has, which really isn't going to work now because at this point, there's like 115 kids. And I've taken on a couple teachers because I can no longer meet the demand. So somewhere in this, because I've been home alone with, 2 small kids, I'm like, we should do a nutcracker because clearly COVID had made me insane. And we get back to the studio, and Katie's like, I used to dance. And I was like, cool, you're, here you go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
So we're going to do a nutcracker, and you're going to like be in charge of it.
so yeah, that was kind of how I entered in. I'll back up by a few months to not obviously quite as early as you got started, but where I entered into the studio-ish, the pre-studio.
Yes, the
Uh,
pre-studio.
I was informed by our mutual friend Miranda about the classes after,
Yes.
yes, during the first week. So Lexi shows up for your very second group class.
Yes.
Um, and we make it through, the whole fall of 18 or of 19.
Yeah.
And we get to the winter recital, which she failed to mention. You had a winter recital
Oh, I did.
before she went home for Christmas. And
Yeah.
that was where I put the first little like hole in the barrier between me and all of the other responsibilities because she had a total of, what did we decide? A total of 20 kids for that recital.
Yeah.
Lexi was 3, and
Hmm.
you had a total of 20 kids. I don't remember. A lot of them were in her class.
Yeah.
And you needed, or Miss Grace was the teacher, and she needed to switch from ballet to tap shoes, and you were trying to like order all of the people and like put them in places. And I was like, would you like a stage mom to like help this? Because I had a little bit of background with that in my years, and you're like, yes. And then we fast forward to Nutcracker, and that one little thing was like, here's an entire Nutcracker. Have fun.
Have fun.
And so that then rolls into, oh, I am excited. Yes, let's do this. And I get all kinds of stuff. And we have one meeting at the library so I could show her the sketches of the sets that I had in mind and like a few things that I'd been researching. And my Pinterest board was all up. I'm trying to figure out how to get things from the US to Japan, which is real difficult. And trying to
It's
figure out
hard.
how to use what we already have. And we sit down and she goes, I don't, that's great. I don't care. Just do whatever you want to do. And I was like, oh, uh, okay. All right. So then we move on. So then as Nutcracker goes and the stage director thing is fun. I love it. It's stressful as all get out, but it's great. And then we run back around to the new year, which Amelia will get to, and I work into teaching dance classes and business management. But that's up for Amelia to tell the story.
Yes. So we start in the fall, and we've got like 100, 115 kids. And we do Nutcracker auditions. We get a bunch of kids from that, and I'm pretty excited because there hasn't been like a Nutcracker on Island in years and years and years. And when there was, it was only through the youth center. And what I did was anyone, you don't have to dance with me. You don't have to dance at all. If you want to take part in a Nutcracker, let's do it. And we had like somewhere like 70, 80 families, I think, involved in Nutcracker, and we were in the chapel. And at this point, we've cleaned up the chapel, and several people, like other organizations, are interested in getting in the chapel. And it's this big whirlwind. And again, we're still trying to find space and a home and how to do this. And somewhere in the midst of like trying to do class, I pick up Katie as a teacher, another teacher, Isabel. We pick up a couple teachers, a bunch of kids, and then camp calls, and they're like, "Hey, you have to shut down because you can't be doing this." And I was like, cool, will do. Because again, I am just like petering along trying to figure this out. I don't blame camp or anybody, but somebody at some point in time was like, whoa, 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 you can't do this. Don't know who it is, don't care. And then with the help of several families, helped me navigate the path to getting a contract with MCCS to provide dance lessons. And it's more than an individual service contract. So I can have employees and they can work for me and teach for me, and I get a dedicated space. That dedicated space is one racquetball court on Camp Foster. You know anything about racquetball courts? You know that they're loud and they echo. So then I start my sound engineer path. I start figuring out how to make things not echo. on like a budget of $0.
Right.
So while we're waiting for sound tiles to be shipped here from America, we hang, because one of the things is you have to have
Forgot about this.
like movement. We hang like mattress toppers, and we get like floor from our local hardware store, and we just go. And that's how the contract started. And having this type of contract with MCCS is unique and interesting because this contract was set up for businesses, not for dance
Well,
studios.
like food businesses, like
Businesses that
restaurants.
sell you physical things,
Yeah.
like
Yes. Yeah.
Chili's and the furniture store and the
Yeah.
suit place.
The
So
Kokeshi people.
yes, the Kokeshi people. It's
Yes.
set up for businesses. So that in of itself is like problematic in the fact that it's written not for a service. It's written for something that sells you a thing. But happy to have it. So we're still, also dealing with COVID restrictions. We have to tape out 6 by 6 foot squares on the floor. The kids can only dance in that. Everything has to be sanitized. Everybody has to be in a mask. And we're trying to do a nutcracker.
And limiting numbers.
Oh, the numbers.
Yes.
Oh, the numbers.
It was we can only have like 10 kids in a class, and it was wild.
Well, and what was really wild about that, a small note, was that fluctuated, where
Yes.
they would change,
Yeah.
they changed the size of the classes. They're like, we can't kick kids out of a class. Like, you
No, we
can't
had to
tell
move them.
us. Yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah, we had to like move classes and split them, and it was wild. It was bananas. Yeah, but we had a space finally. We did it. We did the Nutcracker.
Which we will have a full-on
Yes, we'll have a
episode
full-on
for
thing
that.
about that. So we did the
because
Nutcracker. We had a space. We have our one little studio. We grow so much that MCCS gives us a second studio room. We get a second racquetball court, and yeah, it's just been up from there. The next, I guess that's 21. So by
January of
August-
21, because that's when we found you.
yeah, then by August of 21, we have like 250 kids
Yeah.
at the studio.
So she went from 1 to 2 by Christmas, or to 20
Yes.
by Christmas, to 250 by the next year, with a new Nutcracker and the need for somebody to sew things.
Enter Lacey,
Bum, bum, bum.
who very begrudgingly admits she can sew.
Yeah. Well, I didn't know. Like, Abby did Nutcracker here with a studio that's pretty well known, and they have their own accolades. So their Nutcracker is all like, they've been doing it years and years and years. So they didn't really need anyone other than parent volunteers. So I didn't sign up for anything. I think she may have done it the second year. And then we moved. And I didn't hear about the Nutcracker in 20 because we had just got to Island, and I was waiting for Footloose, one out in town that was open but not serving service members and whatever, that I knew about the last time we were there. So new studio, figured I can sew if you need help with a costume for my child. That's not how it went though.
No.
I did every snow costume. I had to make like cover up the cleavage.
Yes.
And then I had to fix both Kissy and Harlequin doll tutus.
Yes.
And then I even fixed the first Arabian costume before it was replaced.
Yeah.
Yes.
And there were a bunch of Russian and party girl dresses I had to fix.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that was all just that first year. Oh, and I signed up my 2 teenage kids that aren't in dance to be party parents, and I signed my husband up to help with something, and I signed up to help paint.
Yes, so she got to spend hours on my front porch, which was covered, and the sets lived at my house. And there's a whole nother segment on my husband's feelings on this.
Sets.
And she spent more time with my husband on a Saturday, like outside. I know that sounds weird, but the girls would, like the older kids would come down and do homework, and Lacey would come over and she would paint, and Amelia and I were up at the chapel for 6 hours doing choreography. So
Yes.
Hmm.
it was all hands on
It,
deck in totally different locations.
yeah. I feel like nobody else signed up to help. I feel like
They
I was the only one doing all the set.
So we actually had some other people for the first one, and those people moved.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All of
Oh,
them
okay.
moved. It kind of sucked. But then aside from the big painting party that I had, yeah,
Yeah.
you were the majority of my backup crew. So thanks for having my back there.
Yeah.
What? Yeah.
The second Nutcracker, we didn't have as many volunteers, and then Nutcracker 3, we had like an overabundance again.
Well,
Yeah.
because I told them they had to or their kid couldn't perform.
Which is what I had wanted to do. And so she just finally like, here we go. We're gonna make it happen that way.
We'll
Well,
make it
I had
happen.
a 6-month-old by that point,
That's
and I
true.
was
Yeah.
not going to be able to paint and like build like I did the year
Yes.
before because she she's very much like a I must be worn baby by this point, which was completely out of left field. The other four were not like her at all. So she did well. She was a trooper and did excellent. Just I wouldn't have been able to create the things.
Yeah.
So it worked out.
Little Penelope. So that's it. That's the story of OSPA. That's how we came. And I'd like to just like this is not the me show. Like there are so many people whose names like I'm not mentioning on purpose that like behind the scenes did things that made this happen. Because like by myself, there is absolutely no way that I would have got a contract with MCCS and that like any of this would have happened. And when we shut down that first time, like that would have been it.
Yeah.
If it were not for the parents that were like, I am sick and tired of moving my kids like all to all corners of the earth and finding something and then it going away because of paperwork and like red tape. Like this is ridiculous. This is going to happen and we're gonna have this for our kids.
Yeah.
So many parents. So yeah. Thank you. You know who you are.
Well, I think it's important that we talk a little bit about what's going on with the studio now because Amelia is no longer running it, but we did find a phenomenal woman to take it over. My oldest of the two dancers fell in love with her the first time she had a private with her. She's really good. I really saw her as the perfect fit since we were exiting.
Yeah. She is like phenomenal. The studio was like my baby. And so I was really emotionally invested in it for good and ill also. Like there's good and bad things about that. Good because I was like, this is like now at first I was like, well, if it dies, it dies. But then as we got going further, it's like, no, I'm going to make this happen. Again, with the help of family, like dance families. Like this is not the me show. I could not have done this without several dance families. And yeah, like the bad side of that is that it dealing with that many people and personalities, and we all want the best for our kids, and sometimes we go about that the right way, and sometimes we make other people's lives hard.
Yeah.
Just a smidge.
Just a smidge, and I think there's a lot of in this day and age, you can get on a computer and say whatever you want, and you're anonymous, or it doesn't matter because you're behind a screen and this person can't come after you. And it took a really, really big toll on like my mental health and my family because I'm trying to homeschool my kids. And part of the reason of homeschooling my kids is so I can see them. Because if they were in school and then I work all night, I wouldn't see them, except on the weekends, and even then only on Sunday.
Sunday.
Because it worked every day.
Unless you're getting ready for competition or Nutcracker, and then there
Yeah.
were some rehearsals on Sundays. Yeah.
Yeah. So I would only see them like one day a week, really, in the mornings and then in the evenings, and that's it. So I'm trying to homeschool my kids and run a studio and teach. And I had phenomenal teachers, but still just not enough to step away fully from teaching because there's just
Well, and with the contract, you had to.
Yes, I still had to teach.
Yeah.
I couldn't only run it. I still was like contractually bound to teach. It would have been nice not to have to teach as much as I did, but I did. All that to say, in searching, knowing, there was the possibility of PCS orders, so I kind of needed to find somebody to transition it to. And even when those went away, I wanted to transition the contract to someone else so I could be here if they had questions or whatever, and I'm not in America trying to help this person out. And we found the lady who's running it. She found us, I guess. And she's phenomenal. She's an amazing teacher. She brings so much experience to the table. And then her assistant director, I had actually hired as our ballet mistress. And I like kind of fangirl still a little bit. Like when I got the email from who was our ballet mistress. I was like, this is fake. This is spam. Like, this
Yeah,
is,
she's very talented.
she's very talented. Like, I'm going to email this person back, but like, there's absolutely no way that
I
this is
was really
actually going to
sad.
like come to fruition.
I was really sad I didn't get to meet
Yeah.
her because she ended
Yeah.
up coming later than expected, so I was
Yeah.
gone
We were gone.
beforehand.
Yeah. I was
Well,
like, this is not real. Like, this is not real, but whatever. And then she came and then she was like, yeah, I absolutely want to work for you. I was like, are you sure?
yeah,
And she's incredibly, immensely talented. And the two of them are doing such a good job of running the studio, and it really is just like a dream come true to see like what they're doing and how well the dancers are getting trained, you know? And that's what you want. Like you
yeah,
want I know that there's better than me out there, and that's what you want for these kids. Like you want them to have the
yeah,
best, and they have it. And it's really, really cool to see. And also like their choreography is just like
yeah.
it's so good. I hate choreography. I've hated it always.
She hates it, but
And
she is not a bad choreographer. No matter
I'm
what you
yeah,
say,
and I'm
No,
you're
really
really
not very good
not.
at it, and I really, really, really have to think about it, and it takes a lot of effort for me. And I have to like emotionally connect to it and all this stuff, and it just doesn't come natural.
the farewell dance that you
Oh, I did that.
choreographed. Yeah, that one.
Yeah.
That was the good one. You did a great job. It was so touching and moving. I cried the first
Oh.
time I saw it. I cried when they did it on stage. It was the farewell for you, for them. Like that
Yes.
was good. So don't sell yourself short. Every time I talk about the studio and I tell people about it, I know, like, and you've said this before, like
Yeah.
God had a hand in that because
Yeah.
like you've got to stop playing yourself down. Like you went to Juilliard, like you've
100%.
done these things, you've danced forever. And the studio, this itty bitty, teeny tiny little island in the Pacific of service members and their families, we kept getting these teachers of like wonderful quality, yourself
Yeah.
included. Like that is God's hand to give these girls with talent and passion something to keep going. I mean, this is all Abby's wanted to do since she was 3.
Yeah.
And thankfully she's been granted with like all the right little things that you can have naturally. And I mean, you reignited that because she was not sure she wanted to do it until you were like, oh, we're giving her point shoes, and she was like, oh, okay, yeah, I'll keep going to class. Like,
Right.
I won't fight you, it's fine. I like it here, it's cool.
Preteens, am I right?
Oh, preteens. Oh, jeez, yes. And as it comes around to it, like, not that I really had a say at this point, but I had to trust their judgment because I was gone. I would not have left them and the studio if it had not been required by law to do so because, we
Yeah,
would have been like put in jail, in Japanese jail. So you
yeah.
don't want to be in a Japanese jail. And
Yeah.
so but I also had to like keep part of the conversation as it went for that last time. Is like the transition. I was like, but it's
Yeah.
okay. Everything's gonna be fine. And it was, and it is.
Yeah.
And it's really cool to see it like live past me. If you're in Okinawa, your time here is limited. Like you're not going to be here for more than 6 years if you're active duty. I
And
mean,
even
some people do
Yeah.
stay.
even
Yeah.
contractors
Yeah.
don't necessarily stay all that long.
Yeah.
Like a few of
Yeah.
them might retire there, but
Yeah.
most of them eventually come back.
Yeah. So I
Yeah.
wanted this to go past me. I wanted it to be feasible and something that could be passed on, as people continue to go. And in order for somebody to take this on, because it is a physical and emotional toll because you're dealing, again, you're not providing someone a physical thing and they have feelings about it and how you're training their kids. And I wanted it to be something that someone else would want to take on, that they would actually,
Yeah.
so it's like, hey, I've done all the MCCS work. Contract set up, it's as good as it's going to get. You have to run it now, which is not going to be easy.
No,
But you're not
Yeah.
going to have this like uphill battle of please can we
starting.
have floors?
Right.
Yeah, you forged the way, you've taken
Yeah.
the trees down. There's still some there, but you can
Yeah.
navigate around those.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but the
Yeah.
ones that are still there, I painted. So take that.
I love it.
I do want to like go carve my name in something somewhere, like and be like, I was here first. Like, when people
Yeah,
pour
but
concrete, they like put their handprints in to be
yeah,
like,
Yes.
no, forever.
Well, that was
yes.
part of the reason why I was like, you cannot get rid of these sets. They need to last for as long as possible. So I can be like, that's my tiny little bit of contribution over
Yeah.
time. I did that. That and the tree.
Yeah.
The
Yeah,
tree,
the
which
tree.
we'll get into with
Yep.
Nutcracker,
Yeah.
but the tree.
Yeah.
It's my
Well,
baby.
I mean, there's a lot that we will still cover that we can't even fit into this episode as far as
Oh yeah.
why it was difficult with MCCS, everything that kind of made the contract what it is, why nothing was like going to be permanent in the racquetball courts and all of that and more. But that'll come up in our episode about MCCS and the red tape we had to cross.
Well, with all of our extensive experience in all things, we have decided to bestow upon you the blessing of our random recommendations.
I love it.
And I will go first.
Okay.
So, unfortunately, here in the States, we don't have a whole lot of them. I also left it upstairs. I was going to show it to you guys so that you could both go get it because you have Daisos. You can get them here.
Yes.
But
So
And
the
Daiso
Daiso,
is
yes, the Daisos are a few around, but this item I got from Daiso for 100, maybe 150 yen, which is expensive for Daiso. It's a
mhm.
it's a lint shaver. It's like
Okay.
the little pill shavers, not like
yeah, yeah,
just
yeah,
like
Yeah.
yeah.
lint roller. So it's battery powered and it just spins and it takes off all of the lint and we use it on everything and it's amazing. Sweaters, my
Oh,
flannel
cool.
sheets because we get really like particular about the flannel sheets and I can like use it on that. It works ridiculously fast and I love it and everybody should have a lint shaver. It's amazing. Go get one.
Oh, well, and to add to that, Daiso is a 100 yen or $1 store in Japan, and
Yes.
somebody has brought Daiso over to America, and so they are scattered about.
Love it.
I was there
Okay,
last week.
my random recommendation. It's kind of an expensive one. I'll come up with a cheaper one for next time. A bread machine.
Ooh.
And like you can get like a
Mm.
little tiny bread machine. Like it doesn't have to be an expensive one. You can get a $50 bread machine. But people are always like impressed by other people that make bread. And
Yeah.
everyone is always like, "Oh, you made bread." I'm like, "Yeah, I did." I dumped ingredients into a pot, pushed a button, and walked away. And I came back
Nice.
like 2 hours later to bread.
Fresh
Like
bread.
literally, all you have to do with a bread machine is put the things in the like correct order. So like in my bread machine, it is wet ingredients, then dry, and then you close the lid and you push what size loaf you've made. Like if you've made a 1 pound, 1.5
Yeah.
or 2 pound loaf, how dark do you like your crust?
And then that's
And
it.
you walk away. I have kind of a bougie bread machine because I like bread machines a lot. So like mine can do sourdough and cake and all this stuff. But one, it's incredibly cheap. Two, it's very, very easy. Three, you feel so accomplished at the smell of freshly baked bread in your house. And when you like bring it over to other people, they're like, and you're like, I do.
I
But
mean, I made hamburger buns on Friday, and my house smelled like there were donuts in the house. But I
oh,
don't
Yes.
have a bread
yum.
machine. I just do it the old school way, and I'm never buying buns again. It was freaking amazing.
Way
How
right
many
now.
people legitimately have time in their day? I mean, I know some people do, and some people get like super into sourdough, so I'm not gonna like go toe to toe with those people. I'm saying like I don't actually have time to sit there and like knead the dough for like. Also, I'm not very good at it,
Well,
so
I use
could
the
do a machine.
KitchenAid.
Yeah,
Well,
Yeah.
but even
but
then, like keeping the
But it's like,
starter and
yeah.
remembering to feed the
Oh no,
yes,
starter.
sourdough, I failed.
Yeah.
I failed at sourdough hardcore because I have
yeah.
no attention span to feed it every day
Yeah.
Mm,
or once a
I
week.
killed my husband's sourdough starter because he's like the one
Oh.
that does that, and I murdered it.
Yeah.
It's me. I killed it.
You,
I am
you,
a
Yeah.
sourdough murderer, but I can make bread, and
Okay.
it's only
Yeah.
because of my bread machine.
nice.
Highly recommend.
That's amazing though. That's a good idea. I don't need another gadget. Mine's a gadget. It's nugget ice maker. I love nugget ice. I mean I've had 5 kids. It's not because I like going to the hospital for labor and delivery to get their
To get the
special
ice.
nugget ice. But maybe a little bit. And I joke about that. But my husband got me one over the summer when we got back because I'm obsessed with it. And I drink sparkling water all the time and I like my nugget ice.
Yeah.
It's good.
That sounds amazing. Of course, Amelia
Mhm.
is the reason that I have a refrigerator full of sparkling water, but we'll get into that on another day.
So I have a problem.
She does.
In a world where I could be addicted to so many things,
Right.
Mm.
Water.
I
Water.
feel like
Yep.
sparkling water is like pretty on the tame end. When moving to Japan, I'll just say this. I called my friend that lived here and was like, "Can I get liqueur?" This is like, like your husband calls and is like, we could get orders to this place. How do you feel about that? Literally, I'm like, hold on. Hang up with him. Call my friend. Can I get sparkling water La Croix, like specifically at the commissary? She says yes. I'm like, great. Hung up. Call Sam back. Yes, we can move to Japan. With our other recommendations, we're going to talk about books that we're reading and recommend or don't recommend. And I would like to start. I am reading. I'm not really sure why I started reading this. I think maybe it like came up. I don't know. I'm not sure why I started reading this. It doesn't matter the impetus between me starting to read this because I don't like these books. A Court of Thorn and Roses.
Which I'm
Um,
pretty sure is an unpopular opinion, but I respect you
this
immensely
this
for this.
this is an unpopular opinion. This is an unpopular opinion, and I am 100% okay with it. And it's not even because of, like, the spicy scenes. That's not even one of the reasons why I don't like them. I dislike how the characters continue to switch sides. I don't like any of the plot twists. Like, the first book, I can admit, was like pretty good. And I sort of wish it would have ended at the second book.
Hmm.
I find the characters like very annoying, especially Feyre.
I'm there with you, actually. I didn't make it through the first book
I
because I'm
find her
with
to
you.
be very, very annoying. I do not like the spicy scenes. I said it in a message to y'all, and I'll say it more PG. I don't think they're very like attractive. I don't know. I don't know. The wings, they just don't do it for me. But I have this thing where like I cannot let a series beat me, and there've only been 2 series in my entire life that I have not finished. So I'm like determined to finish this, and I'm like slogging through the mud of the 5th book. But I'm going to finish it because the only series that have beat me so far is Game of Thrones and 50 Shades. I couldn't.
I didn't even start that one.
I think I made it like
I read
maybe.
that one. I mean, I was telling you, I skimmed a lot of that. I just needed to know. I liked Twilight. Like, I was a young mom nursing, and
Yeah.
those are the books
Right.
that I read. Like, and so I was like, I want to see like how she changes it and how she does it. But I mean, there was a lot of just like, oh, this is not realistic. I'm so bored.
See,
So,
and
but I did
that's the
it. Like,
thing is like
I have the problem to finish. Yeah.
I have that too,
Yeah,
but I didn't get into it because that theme is like
Yeah.
I'm not that theme.
So going back to Court of Thorns and Roses, even if like all the spicy things were taken out, because I was expecting there to be like
Yeah.
so much more, and there's not. There's not nearly as much as like I went in thinking that there was.
But they're really big books.
Yeah, but like it's like the teaser, like, is this person good? Are they bad? What's going on in their life? And it takes like 20 chapters
To find
to
out.
figure out. That makes me mad.
Well, I don't have to read those books.
Yep,
I
there
figured
you
it
go.
out.
Yeah.
I'm done.
Thanks
Check.
for that. Go ahead.
So I have 2 books to recommend. I recommend them to everybody. Everyone at the beginning of the year does the what should I read thing, and then they like take the list. Any woman, any parent, I always tell them to read The Gift of Fear. It's one of the books that I'd heard about it a little bit, and then I did the CrossFit Kids Coach course, and I went home, I bought the book, and I read it cover to cover like right away. It's so good. It's about trusting your intuition, especially as women, and going out and if you get that bad feeling and that thing telling you like, look the person in the eye or say no if they offer you help or whatever it is, it teaches you to trust that and talks about why. So that's one I always recommend. I had my teenage daughter read it when she was 13. She's now 18, and she's so good at, spotting people following us, which, down in big cities, like that's happened a time or two. And then I was recommending it to someone, and I was just confirming that it was Gavin de Becker who wrote it. And I saw his other book, Protecting the Gift. And that's one for parents, absolute must read, because it's all about, as a parent, what you need to look for and trusting your intuition. It's so much better to ask the uncomfortable questions and be really kind of forward as like the people that are around your kids all the time, and looking into, does this daycare provider have their license and those things. There are a few stories in there that grip the heartstrings and just shake your head like, yep, those are the moments when you just are utterly terrified for, and it could have been prevented had you done this, or it was prevented because they did this. So I highly recommend both of Gavin DeBecker's books. He's like the number one security guy for every famous person. He's got the Gavin DeBecker Consulting, I think is what it's called. But so The Gift of Fear and then Protecting the Gift. Super awesome reads.
Okay, I will look into those for sure.
Yeah.
I just finished the Jazz Files series. Actually, I think the series isn't called the Jazz Files. The first book is. The rest of them are Poppy Denby series. That's the actual name of the series by Fiona Veitch Smith, and they are set in London area between like 1919 and 1924. They're cozy mystery, but it's a woman who starts to want a way out of her like small town life, not in a bad way so much as women are finally allowed to start being recognized in the workplace, and she ends up as a reporter for a tabloid, but the tabloids aren't quite today's tabloids in the book is what they're doing, but then she goes around and ends up doing reporter things to figure out and solve these crimes, though that wasn't her intention so much as she was just simply trying to be a reporter. And I really recommend them. I will say, so the first four, I will let my 12-year-old read or listen to because she loves cozy mysteries. The last two get into much darker themes. Not that she like includes all these other things, and they are realistic themes, but you should definitely, if you're going to consider letting a preteen or an early teen listen to them, you should filter it a little bit just to make sure that you're ready for any questions that might come up in those. But it's also nice because she's a reporter and she's doing these things, but she talks about saying prayers through the whole thing too, and so it's a little bit more of like bringing that in and not leaving it all the other direction, and it makes it a lot better to willingly let my preteen read them and be like, okay, this is a good way of handling that.
That's awesome. I like books that you can read and let your older kids read so that you can like talk about them. You have somebody like in the house to talk to and see their perspective, which is really a lot of fun.
I have a couple of them that I had read and hadn't really thought much about it. And she's like, Mom, can I listen to these books? I was like, sure, those are totally fine. She got into those too, and she'll go back and just re-listen to those when she's going to bed all the time. So I love being able to do that too.
Thank you for joining us today. If you like this episode, please follow us on Instagram at the Virtual Compound Podcast for updates and upcoming episodes. Stay tuned for our next episode detailing the reason behind the name and an exciting event that we'll be discussing all of April. You're like, oh, she has Coach on the back of her shirt. I'm just going to pull her in. And then, oh, she's going to feel like she needs to help us with Nutcracker.
Yeah.
Bigger reel.
And then I get you to my side by letting people paint things inadequately, giving them like poor painting and leaving it in front of your face. And then you're like, I can't handle this.
Where it says white, paint it red.
Paint it red. The great sparkling water famine that we had.
Ridge.
That was so awful.
It was horrible. It was so bad.
It was so bad.